I am Leah Remini. Ask me anything about Scientology. Hi everyone. I'm Leah Remini, author of Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. I'm an open book, so ask me anything about Scientology. How much did you pay to the church throughout your time there? Leah, millions. Leah, they like to say that there's free courses and it doesn't cost a lot to be a Scientologist. Jeffrey Augustin, that's the PR answer. You're supposed to give as much money as they can get from you. Mike Rinder, that's exactly right. Jeffrey Augustin, there's no end to the amount of money they will take. If you're a public member, paying to get auditing to go from the beginning all the way up to OT8, the generally accepted number is about $360,000. Leah, so how do people do it who are not rich? Jeffrey Augustin, they take out second and third mortgages on their homes or they live in apartments. They drive really crappy cars. If you ever go to a Scientology event, you will see a few wealthy cars and everything else are old cars. You sacrifice, you work extra jobs and you go without. Leah, good point. You go without, and that's what's so painful. People are giving up living to finance their actual religion. Jeffrey Augustin, L. Ron Hubbard said there's nothing more valuable than Scientology. You're asked to give up your retirement funds and college funds for your children. This is insane. Is it true they record your meetings and blackmail you with the recordings? Yes, every therapy room is equipped with cameras and listening devices, as admitted by the church. Do they use it for blackmail? No, they use it to discredit you when you speak out. If all Scientology's secrets were revealed tomorrow, which do you think would be most shocking? When you reach the top of the bridge, OTP8, you will be told that God is a life or LRH, and there are more levels ahead. That will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. There is no end to Scientology. Can you imagine a scenario where you may be cast alongside a Scientologist, or would it not be allowed? That would not be allowed from their end. Are you still in contact with any friends that are still part of the church? I am an SP, suppressive person. You are not allowed to be in contact with an SP. I would love to talk to my former friends and see my goddaughter. When you were a Scientologist, did you ever get any weird reactions from other famous people? Weird reactions? Number. I got appropriate reactions. Why are you in this crazy crap? Was there a secret group of people or friends you had in the church that doubted it? Or did you feel alone? I felt alone. If you ever confided in friends, then you were, as policy dictates, reported and turned in. Very 1984. Very George Orwell. Do you think there are members of the cult of Scientology reading this AMA? Do I think? I know. Hi Karen Poo and members of OSA. If any Sea Org member is currently reading this and works for OSA and wants to leave, I will help you, including Karen. How are they able to recruit intelligent people into what appears to be an obvious scam and cult? Most Scientologists are second or third generation. They were born and raised into an ideology and have been surrounded and isolated. It is all they know. They are victims. Most of the original Scientologists are all out and have spoken out. Unfortunately, their children were indoctrinated by them, are still loyal, faithful, and have cut off communication due to the policy of disconnection. What do you think Scientology will look like in 50-100 years? Do you think it has longevity, or is it going to come to an end? I hope that its abusive practices come to an end. I'm all for people believing in things that are decent. Edit. Mike Rinder. Oh, I'm sure it'll come to an end. I don't think that the books of L. Ron Hubbard are ever going to disappear, or that there won't be people that believe that they have a reactive mind or have read Dianetics, but organizational Scientology will be a distant memory. Considering that Scientology is consistently painted in such a negative light, how did you maintain the commitment to Scientology for so long? Because I was taught to believe that the controversy was due to people being unaware of what Scientology was truly doing in the world, which was good things. I also felt the press was focused on making fun of Scientology and not what was important, so it was easy to turn away from the information. And also a major part of Scientology is learning how to fight your critics. If I wasn't fighting, I wasn't being a good Scientologist. What is something the average citizen can do to help prevent Scientology growth? Speak to your local councilman women about cracking down on the abuse of its citizens. I believe people have influences. They know judges, lawyers, Police enforcement. I think everyone bringing attention to these abuses can help. It takes a community to police itself. Do the higher ups know it's a scam, or do they really believe this crap? The higher up is singular, and he definitely knows. However, I believe most parishioners and Sea Org members, people who work for the church, are in the dark and believe that they are doing amazing things for the world, and David Miscavige is directly responsible for that fraud. What is the most unusual corrective action you've seen them physically do to someone? The most abusive thing that I've experienced is seeing the victims being further victimized by an organization that claims these things did not take place, from physical, to sexual, to mental abuse. My grinder, for me, it was when I was in the hole. The hole is the place where people at the international base were kept 24/7 under guard. There was a big conference room that had a big table in it, and the carpet there was industrial strength carpet, and people, myself included, were made to crawl around on their hands and knees around this big table, and eventually your hands become bloodied and your knees become bloodied, and the next day you're doing it again, so it never really heals. I still have a little scar on my left knee from doing that. Leah. And that was just usual? That was just every day? My grinder. Yeah, Leah. Other than being punched and slapped and ridiculed? My grinder. Yup. Leah. When I was in Scientology, I used to hear information about Sea Org members saying that they were abused. I remember thinking if that were true, then the police would be raiding this place and the FBI would be doing something. If this were true, how come no one has done anything about it? And I want you to talk about that. My grinder. The primary reason is because people within Scientology are indoctrinated heavily. The law enforcement, the FBI, the police, they are all horrible, suppressive people. So, the concept of even going to them is something that just never enters the mind of a Scientologist. Leah. Not to mention, your doctrine says if you prosecute a Scientologist, you will be expelled and shunned. So, there's the fear of losing your family and everything you've ever known. Was there a single breaking point that convinced you to leave the church? Or was it a long-term struggle with the decision? Long-term struggle, however. Seeing the church attack those who were speaking out, those who gave their life savings, their children to this organization that were once considered exemplary Scientologists or staff members of the church to being liars, bitter apostates, and whatever vile sophomoric, vitriolic adjective they can find overnight says a lot about the organization. Over the past 10 years, I've seen my parents get deeper and deeper into Scientology. Decent reasoning, science and logic have done nothing to convince them to question the church. From someone who left, is there anything a loved one can do to help a brainwashed member see the truth, without ruining the relationship completely? Fight like heck. Never give up. Edit. Number. Really? Honestly? No. You need to understand that they're brainwashed. You need to understand that they think that out in the real world Scientology is doing amazing things. They don't know what is going on in the real world. Maybe a relationship might be damaged for a short time, but you have to take the step. You have to fight. You have to fight for your family members that are in. We can't fight for your family members. Believe me, I would love to walk into a Scientology church and grab your son and daughter, but they're going to tell me to go F myself. You need to do it. If they're underage, you have every right to ring the bell, wherever they are, and say, I want my family member. I want to speak to them alone. I want to speak to them outside of these gates without a representative of the church. You have every right to do it, and you should do it. What odds do you give of the whole thing collapsing once Miscavige dies? The policies of the church are the policies of the church. They will not change, and there will be someone right behind him ready to pick up where he left off. I've been a huge fan since the early days of Cock, was watching at 11, now 24. Did you ever find that your religion interfered with your work in a way you would turn down any potential jobs, either for your own religious reasons or advice received from members? I was punished for doing Stuff magazine because it was too racy. They would not want us to do anything that would be considered not becoming of a Scientologist. I see they have since changed their stance of what they believe is becoming of a Scientologist. Why do you think there are so many people in the entertainment industry and the religion? If you really look at the numbers at the entertainment industry, in comparison to the small number of Scientologists that are celebrities, The number wouldn't even register. I think Scientology has done an amazing job convincing people that there is a great number of celebrities in the church. What do members actually gain from being a member? How is it made worth all the money and time they invest? They gain a purpose. They gain a group. They gain a sense of accomplishment, awards, certificates. They gain an education that in the real world LRH states would be equivalent to getting a PhD in life. You become an elitist, that you have all the answers in life. If you have a question about life, you are made to think that Scientology has the answer. Are there any sexual malpractices that occur in the church? I have read stories on the internet. I was told personally by a few people that I personally know that there was sexual abuse. When I was 16 and working for a senior Scientologist who was in his late 30s, he slept with a 16-year-old friend of ours, and the church handled it internally. All abuses are dealt with in the church as it is an enemy act in the church to prosecute another member. Please do not take my word for it. Just Google the word Scientology and sexual abuse. Do you personally feel like you're being watched, tracked etc by the church for doing everything you're doing? I am. I'm okay with it because I knew what I was getting into and I knew the policies of the church and what would happen by my speaking out against it. How do the powers that be in Scientology keep their followers from reading anti-Scientology news? Or your book, Why Don't More Scientologists Leave? Great question. Because very early on in the brainwashing process, Ron Hubbard's technology teaches you that outside sources, that is, the news, the internet, books, magazines, are all lies and hellbent on destroying something decent like Scientology. The AAMA and APA and all governments do not give Scientology its due because they have a vested interest in not healing people and not helping people. And Scientology is in the business of making people better. So Scientologists are taught that their safest bet is to get their info from the only true decent people, and those are Scientologists. And if they look on the internet, if they read Time Mag, they will be met with punishment at their expense. And, as a Scientologist, you have to confess that you've read outside materials, and that will be met with punishment at your expense. Have any other actors come to you for support or help? The policy of the church does not allow them to come to me. Former high-ranking Sea Org members like Debbie Cook and former members like Katie Holmes are forbidden to speak to other SPs. Certain members are forced to sign agreements that does not allow them to speak to ex-members. You are so brave for telling the truth about Scientology. Why are so many other people staying quiet? What can we do to help? Thank you. Watch our show tonight and spread awareness. It is bigger what people think. This religion is massive. How are children treated in Scientology? As old spirits in little bodies who have returned to Scientology, children are treated as adults. Are you safe? Yes, I feel very safe. I have the support of my family and friends, and I feel strangely protected by the world at large. How different would you say your view of Hollywood is now compared to when you were on Saved by the Bell, and did your experience with Scientology affect these views versus if you never joined them? When I was a Scientologist, I saw Hollywood as a dark, lost bunch of souls that needed saving. Now I see it as any other business and that we're all just trying to do right by ourselves, right by our friends and family, and that people outside of Scientology are not bad. What is your overall opinion on organized religion now? Did your view on, say, Christianity change? Yes, my view of religion changed in that I am no longer a bigot against people's religious beliefs when it doesn't harm other people, promote killing people for their beliefs, like extremism. But if religion brings you comfort, hope, and a sense of community, I say whatever works for you. From what I've seen of Scientology, it seems like there is a major difference in treatment between celebrity followers and folks in Sea Org who are tortured, locked in the hole, beaten publicly by Miscavige, etc. Did the news of this mistreatment find its way to celebrities and general members of the church who weren't in Sea Org, or were people left completely in the dark? No, and if they did hear about it, we were told that those claiming abuse were lying. Then I would have been interrogated and even punished for asking. As a psychologist, I am curious what you observed as mental health treatment with Scientology. In addition, I am aware the church is against psychology. How was this opposition demonstrated within or by the church? Finally, in your opinion, how prevalent are mental health difficulties with the Scientology community? Thank you for your time. The church doctrine thinks that fields of psychology and psychiatry are a sham. They deny mental illness and afflictions. They promote that you can heal your psychosomatic issues with their technology. They will get in the way of people taking medications. They will prevent people from getting the real medical help that they need, and in some cases have caused suicides because of it. Scientology is mentally abusive because we are all taught that we are responsible for everything. Did being a Scientologist help your acting career? I'm sure there were tools that helped me to be able to communicate better, not be nervous when I walked in the room. Acting classes would have been cheaper, or maybe staying in Brooklyn a little longer would have been more beneficial to my acting career. How can we destroy Scientology? I don't want to destroy Scientology. I only want them to admit to the fraud that they promote, to not deny the confidential upper levels of the religion, so people can decide if they want to spend $250,000 in their lives doing it, that they admit to the policies of fair game, that they allow people to decide for themselves where they get their information, that they admit to disconnection and leave families the frick alone. We can, almost correctly, assume that celebrities receive special treatment because of their status. Could you elaborate more on that? For instance, how would your experiences in the church differ from someone who is not a celebrity? And a follow-up, do you think that more celebrities would like to break free from the church but are afraid because of the repercussions? Is there any merit to the claim that there's so much dirt on them that could be exposed that they may not want to leave? Hope you convince others to follow your path. We had special course rooms in separate parts of the buildings. Any complaint we had about the outside world was met with agreement from the church. We were serviced differently. We had supervisors doing courses in our homes, giving special schedules to celebrities. Staff was interrogated by the church. Oftentimes there were Sea Org members working for celebrities in their homes, personally working for them. I know of one celeb who had a Sea Org member working in their home, and Sea Org members were averaging $25 a week. The labor laws don't apply to any church, therefore they were made to work ungodly hours, forced into interrogations of making human mistakes around the celebrity. You have been visited by the soul of Gabe the dog. Comment, sleep well papa, you will be missed for heavenly books throughout your whole life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.